Here's another question. Many Muslims say, how can God die if he is God? Okay, now, good question. We're going to have to do this as part of our series, right?
That's right.
Now, how can God die? Now, before I even answer the question, Mary asked a good question. Before I answer the question, my first question would be, what do you mean by death? When a Muslim tells me, how can God die? They usually follow up with, who was running the universe if he died? If God dies, who's sustaining creation?
That's right.
Okay,
That's
now,
right. Yeah.
notice the assumption in the question. By telling me, how can God die? Who would be sustaining the universe if he died? They're defining death as cessation of life, that you cease to exist. So understand my response. To say that God can't die because if he dies, who would be sustaining creation? That assumes death means ceasing to be conscious, ceasing to exist, ceasing to live. So my response is, who told you that's the definition of death? Not only is that definition of death contrary to the Bible, it's contrary to the Quran. If you don't mind, if you can open up chapter 2, verse 154 of the Quran.
The Quran?
Yes,
okay.
if you can. Quran,
can go.
chapter 2, verse 154. Neither the Bible nor the Quran define death as ceasing to exist, ceasing to be conscious, ceasing to be alive. Let's see what the Quran says about the martyrs, those who are killed in the way of Allah, in chapter 2, verse 154.
Yeah. Call not those who are slain in the way of Allah dead, nay, they are living. Only ye perceive not.
So those who are killed, they're physically killed, so they're physically dead. They are not dead, they're alive, even though you don't perceive how. So the Quran defines death not as ceasing to exist. Physical death here would mean that the body dies, but your spirit continues to consciously exist, right?
That's right.
Go to chapter 3, verse 169 and 170 of the Quran. So excellent question, and by the grace of the Lord Jesus, by the power of the Holy Spirit, we're going to answer these questions. That's why I like live shows, because of the questions. It keeps us sharp and focused.
Chapter 3.
169 and 170. Chapter 3, verse 169 and 170. See what it says there? Does death mean?
I only speak Arabic, so I'm fine. Yeah. So
What does it say there in chapter 3, verse 169 and 170?
it says, count not those who were slain in God's way as dead, but rather living.
So they're not dead?
And notice where? With their Lord by him provided. And then verse 170, it says, rejoicing in the bounty that God has given them.
How can they rejoice if they've been killed?
Yeah, so they're alive.
So, I mean, they're conscious, they're existing, and they can still experience emotion and sensation, right?
That's right.
Apart from the body.
That's right.
So now, does the Bible agree that when a person physically dies, he still continues to exist consciously as a disembodied spirit? Of course. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to use the words of Jesus himself to prove that though physically put to death, he was still alive by virtue of being God. As God, he's ever living. And even as a man with a human soul, human spirit, his human soul, his human spirit would still be conscious and alive, united to his divine person. Where do we get this from? Let's go to John 2, 19 to 22.
John 2.
19 to 22. John 2, 19 to 22. Watch here.
Okay, so I'm going to John chapter 2, and it's saying Safari cannot find it. That's why.
BibleGateway.com,
Yeah,
friend. Or are you trying to?
we
you
are
were trying.
there. We'll just
You were
see
trying
what's
probably
going on.
doing in the Quran. The Quran doesn't have John 2, sir.
Bible.
What's wrong with you?
Gateway.
.com. Yeah.
That's
If you
where
don't
I
have it, I'll
was.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is it up?
Yeah, I think we're having some.
Okay, I got it.
Some connection
John 2,
issues.
19 to 20. Here. All right, here we go. Jesus answered and said unto them, destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. Good question by Lizzie. I'll answer that in a minute. I will raise it up. Who's going to raise up the temple that's destroyed? I. Who's the I?
Allah.
Allah?
You're talking about.
You're hurting me, man.
Say it again.
You see, he's admiring his look on the camera.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that Allah's speaking in John chapter 2, sir.
So John chapter 2.
Jesus
is
says,
the one who's
destroy
talking.
this temple.
Yeah.
I will raise it up.
You have to be specific.
But no, you're right, actually. Because if Allah is the true God, then Jesus is the true God.
Amen.
So you were right. Just give me a hard time. Because remember, you only speak Arabic.
That's
so you
right,
don't use the term God.
I don't speak Assyrian.
That's
you know.
right. So Jesus says, destroy this temple, and in 3 days, guys, I want you to pay attention, I will raise it up in 3 days. Then said the Jews, 46 years was this temple in building. And you will raise it up? You're going to raise it up? Now, here's my question. And by the way, let me give John's commentary on that. But he spake of the temple of his body. When therefore he was risen from the dead, His disciples remembered that he had said this unto them, and they believed the scripture and the word which Jesus said to them. Now, I want everyone to catch this. Jesus said, you destroy this temple, I personally will raise it up. And the Jews said, they were thinking he's talking about the temple in Jerusalem. It took 46 years to furnish this temple. You'll raise it up. So they understood that he was claiming to raise up the temple.
That's right.
But John says he was talking about his body. So here's my question. Folks, those of you listening, I need your feedback. How could Jesus raise his body, his physical body, back to life in 3 days if Jesus was no longer consciously alive?
That's a good question, of course.
Now, what's the answer, folks? For Jesus to raise his physical body to life, he must still be consciously alive. He must still, he hasn't ceased to exist. He's alive. He's alert. He's conscious. So then what's the problem with Jesus, the God-man, dying?
Not only that, brother, but Jesus was conscious to the point that he also gave up his own life.
He gave his own life and
right.
received it back.
That's right.
And raised it up. So in other words, Jesus dying doesn't mean he stopped existing. Physically, his body returned to the grave, to the dust. But as God and as a human being with a human spirit, his human soul, still attached to that divine person, he was still conscious and alive as a disembodied spirit, still sustaining creation, still sustaining his body, and then raising his body back to life. So what's the problem, folks, with the God-man dying?
And I want to really show what John reported in John 19, for instance, John 19 and verse 30. And this time I'm going to use Bible Hub. I think I know what happened basically to Gateway. It was hacked already. Now
So
that you and I are using it the whole time.
Because it is the Muslims got a hold of the Jews, right? Because everything is Jewish conspiracy.
That's right. It is. I'm sure it's the Jews that did this right now. But while we're figuring that out, let's go to John 19:30 and look what John 19:30 says. And I'm going to go to the interlineal. And it says basically, and having bowed, basically, you see, he said, it has been finished. And having bowed what? Bowed his head. Okay? Bowed his head. He yielded up the spirit.
That's right.
Notice how Jesus did it. First, he bowed down his head, the body, and then he yielded his spirit. So he was conscious enough to where he was in control of the whole process.
And I was going to mention Luke 23:46, but the brother Emmanuel Saves posted already. And it says, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit, right? And he gave up the ghost. He gave up the spirit. Excellent. That's exactly what it is. So, yes, the God-man died without ceasing to exist. The God-man died, and yet he was still alive and conscious by virtue of being God and by virtue of possessing a human spirit, a human soul that was attached to his divine person that continues to consciously exist apart from the body. So, folks, where's the problem? The God-man can die and still sustain creation because he never stopped existing. So when a Muslim asks you the question, either that person's ignorant of what the Bible and the Quran teach about death or they're dishonest, you take your pick.
And also, the Muslims come up with this idea from their own, analyses. Nowhere does the Bible teaches that God in his essence, his deity,
That's right.
is dead.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's why it's a trick question. And unfortunately, many Christians, because they're not equipped on what the Bible teaches, they do get stumped by that question. But the thing is, we don't believe death means cessation of life. Jehovah's Witnesses believe that, but we're not Jehovah's Witnesses. Seventh-day Adventists believe that, right? They believe in soul sleep. But we don't believe in that. We believe that the Bible clearly teaches, even as human beings are concerned, when human beings die, it's because their human spirits, their human souls leave their bodies, and their human spirits, their human souls are still consciously alive, either in what we call Hades, Hades, or in the presence of Jesus Christ in heaven with the angels. And where am I getting that? Hebrews 12:22-24. So I hope that answered the question. But